This is Brooke with BrookeWebDesigns.com, and I've got a quick tutorial video here on how to export an image with a transparent background. I'm going to show you a way in Illustrator and a way in Photoshop because I get this question a lot and they're actually pretty different in how the process works. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open Illustrator. I got my file ready to go. And I'm going to select File, Export, File, Save for Web. So you'll notice that the image already has a transparent background. So even though the art canvas is white, the background is already transparent because the file type is PNG. If I were to select JPEG, notice how the background is white. JPEGs do not support transparency, and so that is why it would export with a white background. GIFs do support transparency as well, but I prefer the crisp look of a PNG, so I always select PNG 24, especially if I'm not worried about the file size. And then notice you've got some pretty interesting options over here. You can actually resize your file on the fly. So for example, if I knew that this file needed to be 700 pixels tall, I could just type that in and it will resize my image on the fly. And I don't have to worry about this because my image is a vector. If this was a pixel-based or rasterized image, then it would become pixelated by resizing it. But because the original file is a vector, I can resize it to whatever size I need. So now I'm ready to go ahead and save it. I'm going to save it as version 6, and it's good to go. Now let's go ahead and open Photoshop and see how you would export an image here. Notice how I have hidden the white layer for Photoshop, which is necessary. The artboard by default is transparent. However, usually there is at least one layer on any file that has a color to it, and you want to go ahead and make sure that that is hidden so you can see through these squares that the background is transparent. And you would select File, Save for Web, and it's the same sort of process. You're going to select PNG. I always select PNG 24. I like the crispness of that image file type. Notice how I've already got my 700 pixel height. Well, let's say for this one I need it to be 300 pixels. I can change that on the fly as well because my file type is still vector based. It is actually a smart object that was imported directly from Illustrator by copy and pasting, and so it retains its vector qualities. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and I'm going to save it as version 7, and that's it. That's how you get your transparent background. Now if you are ever curious how to get a file from Illustrator to Photoshop, I'm going to delete this file that I have there, open it up in Illustrator. All I got to do is select it, copy it, either by hitting Edit Copy or Command C or Control C on a PC, and hit Paste, Command V. You'll see this dialog box open, and you've got a few options: pixel, path, shape layer. I like to hit Smart Object, and the reason there is because I have Illustrator, and so if I want to edit that file, I can just double click and open it in Illustrator. So I'll go ahead and resize it. Notice how it's a vector, keeps those nice crisp edges even though I resized it. And then if I want to edit it, I just double click it, it opens in Illustrator, and I can just change the color. And then as soon as I'm done editing that file, this is how smart objects work, I'll hit save and close and go back to Photoshop, see how it's updated on the fly. That's one of the coolest things about these smart objects. If you didn't have Illustrator, you might want to go ahead and paste it as a different file format. So you could choose pixels, that means it's no longer vector based. it would be rasterized, which means if you resize it to a larger size, then it will pixelate. If you resize it to smaller, it should retain its crispness. There's also path. Paths are by default transparent, and so if you're not comfortable working with paths, you can always try a shape layer. Notice how it's one solid color, however, because this is an actual shape. So if I want to see it a little bit better, let me go ahead and apply a layer style to it. Color overlay, it's all one shape. So keep that in mind if you are going to go ahead and use it as a shape. One of the neat things about pasting it as a shape is you can actually go in here and edit the vector points if you wanted to, which is pretty cool. That concludes my tutorial on how to export a file, transparent file in both Photoshop and Illustrator. If you're interested in more tutorials, come check me out at brookwebdesigns.com. Thank you very much. Bye.